I'm Steve Scott. Let's talk hop.
Hi, welcome back. And remember, if you'd like to learn more about anything we talk about here or anything related to human and organizational performance, feel free to contact me. My information's in the description below the video, and I'll show it again at the end of the clip. I'd love to hear from you. Today I want to talk about trust, and specifically, why trust is so important to safety. So I'm going to start by using this model. And I'm guessing that many of you have seen this model with the title, The Iceberg of Ignorance. And you probably saw percentages assigned to each level of the organization describing their awareness of issues and stuff. So I'm not going to go there. I'm not sure how accurate or representative that model is, but I do think this is useful to illustrate this. And that is that the workers have a far greater awareness of the issues that they face, the risks, the hazards that they face on a daily basis than do the executives up at the C-suite. And I'm going to make a blanket statement that the bigger the organization, the bigger that awareness gap is. So I know in my time at Alcoa, I spent my first 10 years at Alcoa as an operator, working on the shop floor. And eventually I ended up working at the corporate level. I promise you, I had a far greater understanding of the day-to-day issues faced by workers when I was a worker than I did when I was working at the corporate level. That's just normal. I think that's always going to exist to some extent. Here's the big problem with that. The people that have the greatest ability to influence change are the people at the top. And they are also the people that have the lowest awareness of what the issues are that need to be changed, right? And again, these gaps are always going to exist to some extent. The workers are always going to be more attuned to what's going on at the shop floor than the executives. The executives are always going to have a greater sphere of influence than the workers. But here's the question. Can you flatten that iceberg? Can you flatten it to narrow that gap as much as possible? Why don't we raise the awareness of the executives regarding the issues that the workers face every day? And why don't we allow the workers the ability to fix some of those problems that they have to deal with on a daily basis? And very often, the answer to that question, why don't we do that, is this. It's that old familiar blame cycle, right? You've probably seen different versions of this, but basically something happens, there's a failure, there's an incident, so we blame and punish the victim or the last guy that touched it, which creates fear. So we quit reporting stuff or we actively cover stuff up, which means that bad information or no information gets shared with the rest of the organization. So we're not doing any problem solving. We're not improving and fixing things, which means those latent conditions continue to exist. And the same thing happens over and over again. The biggest result of that blame cycle is distrust. The workers don't trust leaders because they see leaders blaming and punishing every time something happens rather than fixing the underlying issues. And leaders don't trust workers because stuff keeps happening and they're not being told about the causes. They don't feel like they're getting accurate information from the workers. So there's distrust going both ways. And it's really a recipe for a lot more bad stuff to happen. So the way we can shrink that iceberg, compress it, improve the understanding or the awareness of the executives, more power to the workers, is by improving trust. If the workers trust that they're not going to be blamed and punished for everything bad that's happened, they're going to be more open to the leaders about what really goes on at the shop floor. And if the leaders then trust the workers to identify those things and start to do something about it, they'll empower the workers, give them the ability, the resources to do that. So trust is the key to all of this. So how do I get started? How do I start fixing that? 3 things. Number 1, and most importantly, quit blaming the workers. Remember the HOP principles. Blame fixes nothing. Number 2, focus on learning. Another of the HOP principles, learning is a deliberate activity. It doesn't happen by accident. You have to make conscious choices to learn. And number 3, stop treating your workers as problems to be fixed and start treating them as resources to help improve the business. They have the greatest knowledge of what goes on at the shop floor. Tap into that. So, stop blaming, start learning, treat your workers as a resource. These 3 things will make a huge change in the level of trust going both ways in your organization. Hey, I hope this helps. If you'd like to learn more, again, here's my contact information. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.